Hello, my name is Monique Burger and I'm the first affirmative speaker. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate today is that pornography is a harmless activity that allows for sexual expression and sexual development. We, the affirmative team, believe that this statement is true. We define the topic as an adult choosing to view pornography in their own personal time is a harmless activity that allows for an individual's own sexual exploration, expression, and allows for natural sexual development. To begin with, I would like to define the main words within our topic. The Oxford English Dictionary defines pornography or cyberporn as printed or visual material containing explicit description or display of sexual organs or activity intended to stimulate sexual excitement. This dictionary also defines expression as the action of making known one's thoughts or feelings. Development can also be defined in the Oxford Dictionary as the process of developing or being developed, a specific state of growth or development. Today, as first speaker, I will be talking to you about freedom and the right of the adult human person to make their own moral and ethical judgments as to what they view in their personal time, based on their own conscience. I will also be discussing that if pornography was deemed harmful, the internet would need to be censored on a governmental level, and that we believe is a violation of basic human right to freedom. Our second speaker, Peri, will be talking about the importance of sexual expression as people are becoming too shielded, and that viewing pornography provides a safe environment to experiment with sexual curiosity and identity. Our third speaker, Amanda, will be speaking about how if pornography were illegalised and banned, it would open up a black market, and we will also be discussing that there will always be a demand for porn, therefore there will always be a supply. Amanda will also sum up our team's case. I'm now going to discuss my main point. I would like to begin with some facts. Sexually explicit content is the most viewed topic on the internet. The internet is a valuable societal tool that can be used to pursue a wide variety of subjects, and in Australia, we are free to access it at our own discretion. Benefits reported from participants in a recent Christian university study who viewed pornography intentionally were producing sexual arousal, giving new ideas for sexual behaviours, helping them feel more relaxed, and providing a sexual outlet where they do not have to deal with others, and being risk-free from potentially receiving sexually transmitted diseases. The development of the human species through time has resulted in the lack of specialised characteristics like that of other species here on Earth. Therefore, without these innate instincts, freedom and choice plays a central function in a human being's life and the way they adapt to the environment surrounding them. As adults, we are free to use our own conscience to make our own judgments on our morality, what actions we deem as good within our lives. Therefore, it is obvious that freedom is essential for a good human life, as to develop one's morality. Freedom and our capacity to know and experience the good around us are essential. Personal choices are made on the basis of a person's ethics, decisions in which search for personal fulfillment of one's life. Ethics, morality, and conscience play a major role in one's decision-making in life, and the affirmative team believes that by choosing to view pornography, you are making a personal, conscious decision based on your morality to participate in a private activity that is in fact harmless if you are making the choice to consent to it. We believe by participating in such an activity, an individual is enhancing his or her own sexual development and expression in a private, safe and secure environment that is risk-free. You might say that somebody who has a strong Christian faith and maintains Christian ethics would not be found to view pornography in their own free time. Well, in fact, it is quite the opposite. Christian ethics were seen as a risk factor for privately viewing pornography in a study undertaken in 2010. with Christian male participants regularly viewing pornography so that they may maintain their doctrinal attitudes and beliefs outwardly in society and not sin in the way of premarital or extramarital sexual relationships. Therefore, choosing to view pornography in your personal time is an individual's decision and fulfills a basic human right of freedom and choice, and does not need to interfere with one's religious beliefs. In fact, it actually can strengthen them. As long as all precautions are undertaken to ensure safety and the viewer takes responsibility to make sure the content does not adversely affect or damage themselves or the relationships of those around them, it really is a harmless personal activity that promotes sexual development and expression, based on one's personal ethical decision to do so. In fact, concern for the welfare of others is an essential element of moral decision-making, which supports the notion of one assessing the harm that could be caused to themselves and others before participating in an activity such as viewing pornography. This decision does not make you a bad or evil person, because as we have seen, even those with a strong personal faith make the decision to view pornography in the safety of their own homes. And this decision actually prohibits viewers from undertaking acts based on sheer lust, which may cause harm to the people around them. In conjunction with my first point, if pornography were deemed harmful, censorship of the internet would need to be undertaken on a governmental level. This would again be a violation of freedom, which we now understand as a fundamental right for human beings. This would also encourage people to find alternate and illegal ways to access their sexually explicit material, leaving society with no way to know what is being accessed and when. That is why our team strongly believes that the basis of human freedom is essential to choosing what we view in our own time, and as long as it is not hidden from authorities and all precautions are undertaken to prevent them, then there is no reason why adults should not be allowed to make their own moral decision on what is good and righteous for themselves in their own life, even if this is viewing sexually explicit material on the internet. So, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, not only is watching pornography in a private environment safe, it actually provides a private space to explore your sexuality without making any moral decisions that may impact or harm those around you. Being free to do as we please is a fundamental human right, and I believe as mature adults, it is every individual's right to decide what they want to view in their own personal time. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ashleigh Owens and I'm the first speaker for the negative side. To sum up what my team will be speaking about, our second speaker, Jess, will be talking about how pornography damages relationships through an open sexual lifestyle. Our third speaker, Molly, will be talking about unwanted exposure to pornographic content and child-themed pornography. To address what the speaker before me, Monique, has said, I'd like to ask, does the need to have people's freedom to sexual content outweigh the need for the safety of vulnerable members of our society? Is the freedom to view pornographic content more important than sexual health and forging healthier sexual relationships and values? Not everyone who views pornography is 18 years of age. It's easily accessible for underage teens and children. Adolescents have not developed decision-making synapses in the brain and therefore can be negatively influenced by extreme and violent pornography. Pornography is not a harmless part of everyday life. We are constantly exposed to sexually explicit content and it is easily accessible to people of all ages. Pornography can have very detrimental effects on individuals, particularly men, and also to society as a whole. One of the most harmful effects of pornography is the increase in sexual violence that is directly associated with viewing pornography. In a study originating from a rape crisis centre, 100 survivors were interviewed about their experiences of sexual violence. Findings include that 28% of respondents reported that their abuser used pornography and that 12% of the women who said that pornography was imitated during the abusive incident. Kramer et al. Also conducted a study to measure the effects of pornography that pornography had on sexual crimes. 198 sexually abused women were interviewed, and it was concluded that 49.9% of these women reported that pornographic material had been used or viewed in conjunction with their sexual assault. After the legalization of pornographic material in Denmark, researchers found that there was actually a decrease in overall sexual violence offences, leading people to believe that pornography was actually having a positive effect on sexual violence in the country. A closer look at the data shows that although the total number of sexual offences decreased, the number of rapes reported either stabilised or increased. The decrease that was previously mentioned was found to be a decrease in lesser crimes such as peeping and exhibitionism, which hides the increase in serious sexual offences such as rape. Experimental data has shown that exposure to pornography increases aggression in male participants in the laboratory. Pornography is making men in society more aggressive, and although pornography may have small cathartic effects on sexuality, it ultimately leads to a substantial increase in highly sexually aggressive crimes and leads to an aggressive society in terms of sexuality and sexual expression. Another reason that pornography is not harmless is the fact that, and is in fact a negative influence, is that it can interfere with normal sexual development. Adolescence can be seen as a time when teens are discovering and forging their relationships, values, and sexual identity. It is one of the most important times for a person's sexuality, and it is now a time when there is almost unlimited access to pornographic content. For most teenagers who access sexual content, it is seen to have a detrimental effect on their sexual health. Sexual health includes physical, social, emotional, and mental relationships to sexuality. Researchers found correlations between people's sexual content consumption, and attitudinal and behavioural changes, such as increased sexual risk-taking at an earlier age and an early age of sexual initiation. The evidence suggests that pornographic content has extremely negative effects on sexual health of adolescents and can contribute to an unhealthy sexual life into adulthood. Exposure to pornographic content in adolescence results in more permissive sexual behaviour, less progressive gender attitudes, and even changes in their sexual behaviour. Pornography is detrimental to efforts to combat sexual crimes, gender inequality, and unhealthy sexual behaviour, which are major issues in society today. Pornography consumption in adolescence can also lead to an increase in sexual boredom, particularly in young men. The increase in sexual boredom can lead to experimentation in more extreme sexual situations or even violent sexual actions. The increase in pornographic content in the lives of adolescents can have extreme effects on their sexuality and the attitudes of society and the safety of vulnerable members in our society. Pornography depicts extreme sexual situations that just can't be obtained or are even dangerous in real life. Unhealthy views of sex can be detrimental to individual relationships and also to the sexual attitudes of society. 96 women were surveyed with the question, have you ever been upset by someone trying to get you to do something that they've seen in pornographic magazines, movies, or books? The conclusions drawn from the study found that 24% of the women answered yes to this question. It was also concluded that of those women that said yes, they were much more likely to be victims of sexual violence or receive sexually violent threats. Adolescent young men have admitted to watching extreme pornographic content such as incest and public humiliation, and also admitted to imitating sexual content viewed in pornography. This is not a feasible attitude towards sex. Young people and even adults seem to not be able to determine that pornography does often not depict real-life situations or positive attitudes towards sex. Pornography is not real life. It depicts violence, male dominance, incest, rape, pedophilia, and many more violent and unrealistic experiences which can often be normalised through the consumption of pornography, particularly in adolescent males. In conclusion, pornography is not at all harmless. It can lead to an increase in violent sexual crimes, including rape, and contributes to an unsafe environment for vulnerable members of society. It can also be detrimental to normal and healthy sexual development in adolescence, and leads to attitudinal and behavioural changes resulting in sexual risk-taking, early initiation of sexual encounters, sexual boredom, and aggression. Lastly, it promotes an unhealthy image of sex and can be dangerous and violent to imitate. It also often leads to the breakdown of healthy relationships. Thank you.
My name is Peri Stewart, and I'll be the second speaker for the affirmative side today, expressing my opinions and views on sexual expression, sexual curiosity and identity, and whether people are becoming too shielded when it comes to pornography and sexual activities. We've just heard from Ashleigh, who argued that pornography leads to an increase in sex crimes, sexual violence, and aggressive behaviour. She talked about the research gathered by Denmark, yet the results suggest other opinions. This research into the legislation of pornography in Denmark in 1969 has been hotly debated. Research was launched to determine whether pornography affected sexually aggressive behaviours. From the results, it showed that a decline in sexually aggressive behaviour after the legislation of pornography, which was taken as indication that pornogaphy did not adversely affect sexual aggressive behaviours and perhaps even worked as a buffer against them. Ashleigh's argument failed to mention that pornography may benefit the individual by enhancing the sex life, contributing to knowledge about sex, providing a recreational sexual outlet or a buffer against sexual assault, or helping to assess or cure common sexuological dysfunctions, rather than Ashleigh's argument that it can harm a person's sexual development. Although typically attitudes towards pornography is more positive in males than in an earlier age than females, Bryant from the Australian Institute of Criminology explains that by their mid-20s, males and females report similar positive attitudes towards pornography. Pornography has been given a bad name over the years, yet statistics show that pornography is viewed primarily for sexual stimulation, curiosity, and because the people viewing the content think it's cool, in both males and females. Pornography is also linked to having social benefits, as stated by Martin et al., that pornography may even be a socially beneficial form of communication that allows for self-expression of sexual interests, therefore promoting the development of a person's sexual identity. If pornography is the best tool for someone to discover their sexual identity, then I think we should be encouraging its use, not discouraging it. For Catholics, sexuality is intrinsic to our bodily existence, and we need to express it in a healthy, integrated way. Expressing ourselves sexually is something that comes naturally to everyone, for the reason that our bodies are given to us by God, as part of the gift of life, so that our persons might be expressed in a particular way. These sexual expressive behaviours and urges are derived from our primitive nature. They may be blind and they are often very strong. So why is expressing our sexual urges through pornography deemed worse than any other sexual activity? Pornography is just a harmless sexual activity that allows for sexual expression and development. Sexual encounters, development, and activity can be classified as a sacrament in the sense that our bodily actions express our deepest attitudes and our strongest commitments. Through pornography, our bodily actions are expressing our needs in discovering our sexual identity as well as exploring our sexual curiosity. Curiosity remains to be an important factor behind why males and females view pornography, with statistics showing results that 39.5% of men view pornography out of curiosity and women higher at 54.6%. Bryant goes on to say that there was an increase in percentage
of females using pornography as a means of arousal prior to sexual activities or to vary their sexual lives. So if males and females are using pornography out of curiosity and as a way to experiment sexually, then why does pornography have such a bad name? If it's being performed in a private and safe environment, then why do people believe it's causing so much harm? Genopsy explains that today there is a lot of criticism of natural law thinking regarding sexuality, and that too close a connection is being portrayed between every sex act and procreation. Why can't sexual activity, such as pornography, be about a sexual act and a chance to explore their sexual identity and experiment with their curiosity in a safe and private environment? I agree with the statement presented by Weeks, who argues that sexuality is a focus of ever-growing ideas, debate, conflict, and creativity, as people are putting too much pressure on the idea of sexuality and sexual activity. People are becoming too shielded. Pornography has become a site of political passion rather than just the act of someone experimenting, viewing, and expressing their sexuality. To summarise, I believe that through the use of pornography, we are able to develop and discover our sexuality, indulge our curiosity, and build our identity. Catholic ethics encourage the development of sexuality as the gift of human sexuality is God's way for humans to exist in the world. Therefore, we should be encouraging the use of pornography and its role it plays in human sexuality.
My name is Jessica Dunn, and I am the second speaker for the negative side. I am discussing the effect of pornography on relationships, specifically focusing on marital relationships and the way it encourages an open sexual lifestyle that can include extramarital sex and is therefore detrimental to a marriage. I disagree with Peri's previous statements, as the Bible clearly states that sex should only be shared between a husband and a wife. Therefore, viewing pornographic material is strongly outside the borders of the marriage relationship. Pornography can have a permanent and lasting effect on a couple's relationship or marriage. It is estimated that 50% of Christian men and 20% of Christian women are addicted to pornography, often making it a significant factor in a divorce. Therefore, the argument that it does not harm anyone is incorrect. Kirshner states, "What makes porn so bad is that it reduces others in the eyes of the porn watcher to a less than human state, as mere objects for one's satisfaction. In other words, it degrades a person's self-worth as it treats people as objects instead of human beings. Masturbation often accompanies the use of pornography and can be a selfish act, as one takes part in pleasuring themselves instead of contributing to the relationship with their partner in the act of sex. Even though this issue largely affects men, it also affects women. These are just a few examples illustrating how pornography can affect a couple's relationship. Porn can also become an addiction in a person's life, making it an ongoing problem in their relationship with their significant other. Addictions can destroy relationships and families as a person becomes consumed with pornography, neglecting those closest to them. Research into people suffering from a porn addiction has shown that it often leads to promiscuity and experiences with prostitutes. Men often argue that they will abstain from porn once they are married because they believe they can then replace their addiction with a sexual relationship with their spouse. Unfortunately, this is not the case, and it often leads to anger in the addict, as their spouse may not be sexually available when they desire. Research states, ironically, Christians can be set up for a higher risk of sexual addiction than non-Christians because of the role that shame plays in feeding the addiction. This is often seen in pastors because they use porn as an escape from their demanding work life and become addicted to the adrenaline rush of risking their careers. If a person desires to live a godly life and to be devoted to their husband or wife, then they should abstain from viewing pornography, as this damages their relationship with God and their partner. The Bible is clear on this issue. In Matthew 5, verse 28, But I tell you, anyone who looks at a man lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. This clearly states that a person is committing adultery when they look at porn because they are lusting after another person. By this definition of adultery, someone looking at porn is therefore cheating on his or her partner by lusting after someone else. You can argue that a porn is a lesser evil or a low-risk alternative than cheating with a prostitute, impregnating someone other than your partner, or contracting a sexually transmitted disease, although ultimately it's about one's own conscience and crossing the line between God's view of appropriate sexual behaviour and what society says is acceptable. The Catechism of the Catholic Church states that pornography is evil because it offends against chastity. The Bible refers to the human body as a temple of the Holy Spirit, proclaiming the importance of honouring God by respecting your body. This is mentioned in 1 Corinthians 6, verse 19 to 20. The Bible also states that your body is made in the image of God in 1 Corinthians 11, verse 7. God's word is clear when it comes to a person lusting after another, and God shows his desire for every person to live a life that honours him. A sexual addiction to porn can result in feelings of isolation because the addict is hiding the issue from their partner. This shows how pornography can be emotionally damaging to a person as they can get caught in a cycle of shame and isolation. Regardless of one's mistakes, the Christian response is to love and forgive one another, supporting their pursuit of freedom from addiction. Some researchers believe that internet pornography is grooming young generations of Americans in such a way that their chances of enjoying healthy and enduring relationships are handicapped. This is partly due to the fact that men and women place unrealistic expectations on their sexual relationship with their partner due to the nature of violence and disrespect for one another presented in pornographic content. Pornography is a major source of marital distress because it can decrease sexual satisfaction and sexual intimacy between a couple and increases the likelihood of infidelity. Sex is thought to be a characteristic of a healthy marriage, although sex may not be present in a marriage when a spouse is addicted to pornography, as his or her sexual satisfaction may come from watching pornographic material and masturbating instead. This means the spouse often experiences feelings of neglect, and this is why a sexual addiction such as pornography has such a disastrous effect on a marriage, therefore making it one of the highest reasons of divorce. Many women have reported feeling inadequate when they found out their partner was looking at online pornography. Professionals state that porn can become an explosive issue for a couple, corroding intimacy and demolishing the sexual connection. Regardless of a person's religious beliefs, pornography can still negatively impact on one's relationship as they fill their mind with lasting images that can result in feelings of betrayal and mistrust from their partner. In conclusion, these are the reasons that I believe pornography can have a negative effect on relationships.
Hi, my name is Amanda Habchi, and I'll be the third speaker for the affirmative side, focusing on if pornography is banned, it would open up a black market. It is legalised currently for 18+. There will always be a demand for pornography. Therefore, there will always be a supply. Pornography is a harmless activity that allows for sexual expression and sexual development. Porn is legalised for individuals over the age of 18. There will always be a high demand for porn and supply to cater for those individuals who use porn to satisfy sexual needs. Unhappy or lonely people may use pornography on a regular basis to meet their sexual desire, but until these feelings are gone, porn is needed. Therefore, there will always be a demand, as porn doesn't just give you the skills to learn how to better please your partner, it also can help give you skills for how to better please yourself. As we have heard from Jess, that pornography affects relationships. Pornography does not destroy relationships, as sometimes these sexual desires are needed. Psychologically, healthy men don't have much trouble distinguishing between reality and the weird world of commercial raunch. The trouble emerges, McCarthy says, when a person can't differentiate between fantasy and reality. If a man has a need to make his partner into a porn star, such as encouraging her to change her physique by liposuction, dieting, and breast surgery, there is a problem. Individuals who watch pornography can distinguish between reality and fantasy sexual pleasure. If your partner is questioning between reality and pornography of questions, like why isn't my partner like that? Why won't my partner let me ejaculate on their face? Then there is a further problem. But healthy men can distinguish the two. Fantasy is positively a good part of sex life. And porn does contribute radically to the achieve of these fantasy scenarios created in our minds. This can also give couples inspiration for an experimentation in their sex life, which can improve their intimacy relationship. There is a market for pornography. This is why it exists for individuals. By focusing on pornography, attention is drawn away from the forces that contribute to the attitudes that create a market for violent pornography. This is shown in the media through television portrayal of women as housewives and sex objects. These are often shown and are evident in our daily life through the media. But these advertisements and shows are seen to appeal to social ideas and attitudes in the market. Pornography market is not harmful and is providing individuals their fantasy as the media is portraying these advertisements. Pornographers make the pornography they produce because there is a market for it in society, whose ideas about sexuality are influenced by multiple sources. Claiming that pornography is a serious cause of the sexist beliefs of the population is somewhat like claiming a single raindrop is the cause of a flood. The market in pornography is demanding, and if this was to be made illegal, then there will be a black market as employees of companies will lose their jobs, which will encourage porn stars to create and provide pornography to the market through illegal ways. If pornography is banned, it will open up a black market in which individuals will find a way to purchase and produce pornography. The government cannot monitor every household in Australia, as people will still be involved in all sectors of pornography, as there is a high demand. The government does not realise that there will be a supply for pornography once it has been made illegal. Those individuals that need and enjoy watching porn will be able to get access, as there will be a black market catering for pornography. Living in the 21st century, nothing is left unavailable to assess due to globalisation world we live in. For the government to make pornography illegal, it has not yet thought deeply into the claim that just because there was a black market in child pornography, that type of restriction should definitely be lifted and enforced, not pornography, for adults, as this will create a wider black market. Shirley Walters' study indicates that a minority would continue to use the black market of pornography, but materials would be very limited and individuals would not be able to walk down to the shop and purchase these videos. Individuals would just have to be cautious when purchasing and watching pornography if made illegal. If pornography is banned, there will always be a demand for porn, and a supplier will always be available to satisfy individual harmless sexual desire. There is no question that a lot of people are stimulated mildly or sexually by seeing sexual explicit material. When one is aroused, one tends to behave as a consequence of the arousal. When this is to become illegal, these individuals will find other ways to find their sexual pleasure, which will create a higher risk of illegal actions in society. By banning pornography, a black market will open for individuals who may not be sexual predators to become so due to not having pornography to satisfy sexual expression and development. Many studies indicate that porn does not cause harm to an individual's sex life. Two Danish researchers, Gerd Held and Neil Malaputh, concluded that from a survey of 688 Danish adults, that porn did not yield any negative mental or health effects. In fact, the researchers found a positive correlation between the subjects' porn viewing and increased sexual satisfaction, as well as self-reported benefits in other areas of their lives. Therefore, by making pornography illegal, individuals will want their positive satisfactions from pornography, which will create a black market and supply of pornography for these individuals. By banning pornography, it will open up a black market, as individuals who work in the pornography industry will have no jobs and provide for high demand market of porn videos. Individuals will need to satisfy their harmless sexual desire, as it may be improving their sexual relationship by getting porn supplies when it is illegal. If pornography becomes illegal, it will create a black market, as there is a demand. This activity will continue to allow individuals harmless sexual expression and sexual development by illegally purchasing and viewing pornography to satisfy these needs. Thank you.
My name is Molly McKinnon, and I am the third speaker for the negative side. In rebuttal to Amanda, who was the third speaker for the affirmative side, she argues that if pornography is banned, a so-called black market would open. I, as the third speaker, disagree. If indeed pornography was banned and a black market was created, this would ensure only the people who wanted to and were legally allowed to view pornography would make the choice to do so. Viewing pornography can have a negative impact on individuals younger than the legal age of 18, who can easily view pornography accidentally on the internet. Wolack, Mitchell and Finkelhor argue that some youth may be psychologically and developmentally unprepared for unwanted exposure, and online images may be more graphic and extreme than pornography available from other sources. Creating a black market may even be a positive outcome for the pornography industry, as it would be much harder for individuals to find and view pornographic material, thereby removing those who see the material without wanting to. The affirmative side may argue that pornography may allow for sexual expression and sexual development. They cannot, however, argue that it is a harmless activity. While adults may make the decision to view pornography, there are many people being exposed to it who do not want to or should not be viewing it, as I will now discuss. 21st century has brought with it a range of tools that aim to make the lives of individuals easier, quicker, and more exciting. The internet is one particular tool that has had perhaps the greatest influence on our lives. Now we can use the internet to buy food, clothes, and watch our favourite television shows, all without leaving the comfort of our own home. Sexually explicit content can also be found on the internet by men, women, boys and girls, both effortlessly and privately. Rosie O'Neill reports that in 2013, 95% of 8 to 11-year-olds had accessed the internet in the last 4 weeks. Cyberpornography, or pornography viewed and accessed on the internet, has been reported as the most common form of sexually explicit material viewed. With the prevalence of the internet available to children at an all-time high, it is no wonder that the median age of children exposed to sexually explicit material is as young as 10. While the affirmative side may argue that pornography is a harmless activity adults engage in, the effect it has on children cannot be ignored. One study has found that 42% of youth internet users had been exposed to online pornography in the past year. This is supported by Criddle, who states that teens, ages 12 to 17, view more internet pornography than any other age bracket of the population. It is important to note that although children are viewing pornography on the internet, it does not necessarily mean they were looking for it in the first place. Children have reported unwanted exposure to pornography as the highest risk they face while on the internet. While children are at risk of unwanted exposure to pornography on the internet, they are also at risk of becoming the subject of pornography themselves. Disturbingly, the child pornography industry has been estimated to be a $20 billion business. The reason behind this staggering figure, perhaps, is that material might be produced for innocent, non-pornographic purposes, but then misused. A simple family photograph of children at the beach that is posted onto the internet can end up in the hands of individuals who turn it into sexually explicit material. Staggeringly, child pornography includes children who are seen as mature enough to give consent, but also those who are extremely young and vulnerable, and could not therefore be able to give mature and informed consent. It cannot be successfully argued that pornography is seen as acceptable in the views of the Christian religion, and is an act which goes against everything we believe as Christians. Once again, I would like to draw reference to pornography made in the Bible. As Matthew chapter 5 states, verse 28, "But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart." As Jessica stated, this passage is significant in determining the negative view of pornography in the Christian religion, as not committing adultery is one of the 10 commandments we as Christians must all live by. To look at a woman with lust, as this passage states, links pornography with adultery, and therefore the viewing of pornography would be breaking one of the 10 commandments and committing mortal sin. In conclusion, the negative side believes that pornography leads to an increase in sexual crimes and sexual violence, and early sexual development, and a promotion of an unhealthy image of sex to the society, as Ashleigh stated as the first speaker of the negative side. Jessica, the second speaker of the negative side, stated, "It also damages relationships through an open sexual lifestyle that can include extramarital sex." Not to mention the unwanted viewing of pornography by children on the internet and children themselves being targeted for the use of sexually explicit material. It is for these reasons, therefore, we believe that pornography is not a harmless activity that allows for sexual expression and sexual development. Thank you for listening to our debate.